Let's give them a hand as they come on up. Welcome for those who are watching on the live stream. My name is Dennis Baker. I'm the LifeRaft Program Director, and we are so excited to celebrate casting directors and the hard work that you guys do as part of the Artios Awards that happen, I just blanked, January 25th. 22nd?
I'm the chairman, I should know.
Okay.
I'm fired.
I'm going to go have you down the road.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Is it 22nd?
It's like the third Thursday.
Look at the calendar, so I got it right.
We'll have you guys go down and introduce yourselves, and then we'll jump right
I'm
into
Matthew
it.
Lessall.
Hi, I'm Mike Page.
Linda Phillips Palo.
Michael Sanford.
Say hi. Aww. We unfortunately did not get a trailer for Michael's film, so I'm going to read the tagline, and then I'm going to let you describe it, Michael, since you're so hands-on with the project. So Michael's, Sanford's project that he worked on was called Blow Me, and the log line states, a German actor and his bumbling manager start a gardening service in Hollywood to meet influential types that may help their careers. Tie in with the word blow me. So Michael, you want to take it from there?
I always say we don't write it, we just cast it. So, definitely the double entendre. Blow Me, it's all about the leaf blowing business. And these two, did anybody see it? Well, because of the heavy German accent, you have to see it. What the main guy comes across a gardening store, another company, a competitor, and he convinces them to use that name. He thinks it's the best name, so for the rest of the short, he's going around telling people, blow me is the name of my business. A lot of fun, though. A lot of fun with the name and even in the film.
So we're going to, let's start with Matt and go down. I'm just curious how these projects come across your path. Like, how do you, specifically with these projects, did it come on your radar?
Mortal Kombat, well, I did the first season as well, so I got a phone call. Honestly, I think it was just through producers that I knew, and someone recommended me, and it was Christmas 2010, I think, was when the first season, when I got the first call. And then when they did the second season, they were kind enough to rehire me, and that was good. And then for Aim High, there were very similar people involved in the production, so it was just kind of synergistic, and I had a relationship with one of the producers who was brought on for the second season, not the first season, so that's how that happened.
Nice. Mike?
In complete honesty, I don't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure that it's because they had seen some of my previous short films that I had done, and I do remember getting the email, and they said, hi, we're looking to do this as a short film. Here's a little bit of the subject matter. We're not paying. Would you take a look anyway? And for me, the subject of the film is based on, there's a pretty famous photograph out there of two young Iranian men that were hung for homosexuality that was published, and they sent that picture. And when I realized it was a fictional telling of their story, and I read the script and found that it was very beautiful, very powerful, I said, yes, absolutely, count me in, and it was a little labor of love.
That's really nice. For us, we do a lot of features, short features, little features I call them, and usually it's a referral from someone who has already worked with us who thinks we'd be right for it, and that's basically how we get it. So one leads into the other, just like actors. One leads into the other.
Same here. You guys are a friend of mine who, an actor who's producing Blow Me and needed...
Best title ever.
I was just going to say it over.
He was producing,
and over.
He approached me because we were starting to do more features. We had done several shorts, and at this point, when he came to me, we had done a couple of features, and it was really to help him. And he just helped. He knew the director Silvertree, who worked on Suburban. I can't even say it. Suburbatory. Yeah, and from that. That's how it all began. And then it was a big German cast, so this woman, Antje Schubert from Germany, helped me with some of the German actors. And then it's amazing, you guys should know this too, how it all comes together to watch this actor take this short, and a lot of good has come out of it for him and for them. So you guys could do the same thing. and we could cast it for you.
We'll start with Mike Page. You guys are all talking about this backstage, and I'd love to hear all your guys' opinion. What, obviously, especially for you, Mike, there was zero money. So what makes you say yes? Because you do have to pay the bills, you have commercials, you have other projects going on. What makes you go, I have enough time to make this work?
Insanity? No, it really just was the script, first and foremost. I think sometimes casting directors, we can kind of get a bad rap or get villainized a little bit, but I actually do consider casting an art form as well, and especially when a project like this comes along that I feel is so powerful, so poignant, and was very much a story that needed to be told. I couldn't say no, with it, and not having the money, and in a way, I felt a little bit better, when I was approaching actors and being like, so, it's no money, but I'm not getting paid either. We're all in this together, I felt at least we were kind of all on a similar playing field, and it can be a little difficult having literally zero budget to talk with people because it is a begging, borrowing, and pleading principle. But when you do have a very solid script, it's that, look, I know it's not your thing, and I'm sorry, but just read the script. Just take a quick look, and that's the nice thing about a short film is it's a quick read. And once people did, that's when the phone calls started getting returned, and people were like, okay, we get it, we're in.
What was your guys' in these situations? What made you say yes? Unique challenges that you guys had with this project?
Everybody's, go ahead.
What made us say? Well, my background, a lot of you know, is mostly commercials. So, like you guys, commercials are wonderful. I love what I do, and they pay the bills, and it's wonderful. But the theatrical experience is just a little more fulfilling. It's more of an art, and it's a challenge. Like someone said, it is a craft, I think, and I just. Whether it be a short or even a full-length feature or even a 30-second commercial, which I call a 30-second short now, just because of everything that goes into even a commercial, it's the same thing. It's the blank canvas and filling it in, and it's the snowball effect. The producer hired me. We get other people involved, and I just love that whole process. There's always challenges, money mostly. Even with independent features, it's always. Especially when you could get some name value, it's just calling in a lot of favors, but I think the material has to be good enough, and I thought the material just jumped off. We were just laughing out loud as we were reading it. So I think if it's something that we believe in and it hits us, then it's not about the money at that point.
Yeah, it can't be about the money. No. It can't. But there was a wonderful actor named Wilford Brimley. And Wilford once came in when I was an assistant, and he said, Linda, do your casting, but always have a backup income. And boy, was that ever true. He did some other things. He said, just always have your backup. So I have a stock footage company that I run. So that always gives me the income and the living, and then the casting of shorts comes in with that. Freedom. Thanks, Wilford.
And you had a unique situation, Matt, because you had Warner Brothers behind it. So there's
when I got the script, it was I was very excited because if I could cast sci-fi, fantasy all the time, I'd be really, really happy. But mostly, I work with first-time filmmakers, so that's always usually coming-of-age dramas set around the world of pro beach volleyball or something, and which I love, and I do. And I really actually do love it. But when I get to do fantasy, sci-fi, or even action, which Aim High had. For Aim High, it was really a situation for me, which it was I don't do a lot of television. I get to do like a pilot once every 4 years or whatever. And so for me, Aim High was more of a television. It felt like television to me, so it was a good opportunity for me. And but with Mortal Kombat, I got to dig into this world, and I'm not a gamer, so I really got to sort of see it from the outside in and kind of absorb what the fanboys were like and what was being said on the internet, and you better cast this right or I'm gonna come kill you. Like I actually got hate mail. It was all really, yeah. It's like, wow, I should post this, like on my refrigerator, So you're doing a good job when you get hate mail. So it was super fun, and because it was a new venture for Warner Digital. It's great to be on that precipice, like to be part of that world. So I'd like to keep being part of that world, please.
You were talking about unique situations with that though, because people hear Warner Brothers and they think one thing, but it's new media.
It's always hard when a studio's involved in a low budget production. It happened. I've worked on several projects like that, and sometimes they go, we don't want to announce that we're on it, or it's a negative pickup, but really we're doing it, and things like that. And it's hard because the business of how Los Angeles works, once they hear the studio name, there's an expectation of what kind of money is behind it, and really this was not that for them.
We were talking about commercials can happen in a week for you. What was it kind of your guys' individual process with the projects? How long were you on this project? Were you off and on? Was it a month? Was it multiple months? Kind of maybe start with you, Michael. How long did this process for you?
It was it probably took about 2 months because we had the mercy. We were able to get a couple of names in it, and they were all on shows at the time. So it's just a question of waiting for their schedules to clear up. But so it was a 2-month process, probably about 6 weeks casting, and then the final 2 weeks waiting for them. Where, like Dennis was saying, commercials we could do it in a week. We put out a. I was telling them all earlier in the green room. We put out a breakdown this morning, and we're seeing people tomorrow, and we're seeing people Thursday, Fridays callbacks, and it shoots Saturday. So the commercials are pretty quick, as most of you know. But short films don't usually take that long. We should I think it was because of everybody's different schedules and just trying to get that all coordinated.
Yeah.
Well, officially, I checked because I knew you were going to ask this question. First email to last email was 3 months for both projects. Yeah, I wasn't contracted for that long, but I dealt with things for that long. So.
And that's because it was 10 episodes, but there were only 10 minutes, so it's a little.
It was a full feature. It was almost like a feature script. So it was written episodically, but it was 100 and something pages for Mortal Kombat, and the same thing for Aim High. It was actually written. The second series was, I think, 4 was combined episodes. It was meant to be like 8 to 10 episodes, and they combined it into 20-minute episodes. So that's why it's only 4 on Crackle.
How long for you guys' projects specifically did you guys work on?
Mine?
Yeah.
Mine was at least 2 months. Okay, we get the script and then break it down and start seeing people and go for 2 months.
I think ours was about 2.5 months or so from once I really got started. I got really lucky. The writer-director, Darren Sink, and the producer, Tommy, they really understood the importance of casting. And, they said, this is when we would like to shoot it, but if we need to push, we have to, because getting the right guys for this is paramount to anything else. But yeah, once we finally released the breakdown, it was a lot of emailing and calls. We did decide, we wanted to be sure to cast actors who were actually of Persian descent and could also speak Farsi naturally. That was very important to us. And so there was a, relatively small community. We did have a few offers that we got to play with, but primarily it was about reading and doing a lot of self-tapes and reaching out to various Middle Eastern countries and, of course, all across the world, and getting a lot of self-tapes, going through those, and really opening the doors to pretty much anybody that did fit those 2 requirements. We would be willing to read, and we did, and we got very lucky, very blessed with finding our 2 guys. We got a huge help actually from a fellow actor, Naveed Negaban, who actually referred us to a couple of the actors, and really reaching out to various communities and said, do you guys know anybody who might be right for this, might be interested, and we got very lucky with our cast.
And talk about that, Mike, because they don't speak English. It's a foreign language film. So as a casting director, what's that process like? Are you gauging what they're doing emotionally? How are you figuring, what's that process?
Well, we cheated. We had the script in English first, and that's how we primarily did the auditions to really get the chemistry reads, especially once we found the guys. We got Bobby Nadiri locked in first, actually, with that, and so then that made the process a little bit easier to find his other half, which we got very lucky with Mojan Arya. And as we did that, we did ask them to demonstrate some Farsi, as we were getting the script translated as well. But getting to cheat and do it in English first definitely helped us really get the emotional depth of it first.
You mentioned this, Michael. Specifically, you had some star names. Tony Shalhoub. You had. I'm gonna have to look this up. You had David Foley. How? It's a short film with very little money. What's the conversations with them of their busy schedules and all that?
That was, I've got to give Silvertree, that's her name, the director, a lot of credit. She was a script supervisor on various shows, and she met them throughout their careers, and she was trying to segue into directing. So everybody, again, if they believed in the project, so they were real easy to jump on board and say yes. And then that's when we take over and start dealing and negotiating with the agents. But they all knew that it was, I think we went under the short agreement is at $99 or, I don't think it was anything, so they didn't get anything either. Yeah, they did it just for the, for the love of the piece and the people involved too. But that was part of the other reason. It was also their schedules, so, a lot of the scale actors, we're kind of at the mercy of them waiting for, when we could pull this off on a weekend. So it wasn't bad at all because there was nothing to negotiate. So it was like, take it or leave it.
They were great to be on board. We already have audience questions, so we're going to sprinkle in some audience questions throughout this process. Francois Dominic, do we have Francois here? Hey, Francois. He's going to put you on the spot. What's the toughest role in your career that you've cast and why? So we'll give you a second to think about it.
Anybody? I'll go after.
Michael, go ahead.
It's going to go back to commercials because we've done several in just like the last 2 years. People with Alzheimer's. A lot of times it's truth in advertising, so we're looking for that. We did a music video where we needed people that were disabled, so that's always wonderful. Specific role, it would have to be the more real people roles, I think. People with disabilities or ailments, or we had to cast expert swing dancers 65 to 90. That was tough. But it's amazing what people, but they're out there. I mean, especially with social media and technology, and we found this couple in Colorado that put themselves on tape and sent the tape in, and they booked it. They never even came in to LA until the shoot. We did a Skype callback with them, and but it's pretty amazing. Every time we get something that I think is going to be so challenging, we've been very fortunate to find it, which is probably why I'm still here. But one was we needed to find veterinarians who also did stand-up comedy for a. Yeah, this is true. This was for a new reality show, and we found one in San Diego. So it's just so interesting, some of the things thrown at us. But I would say those are probably the more difficult roles.
Mine was rocket science for sure. Reese Thompson got the lead. He played a stutterer who joins the debate club, the debate team. The film won Best Director at Sundance in 2007. That was hard because the director also stuttered, Jeff Blitz, or he was a stutterer, and so we had to. First, it was all about finding a kid who stutters who wants to act, which anybody who stutters doesn't want to act, apparently. So it's and then there's actually a stuttering is so bad. Okay, there's actually a theater company for kids who stutter, which is fantastic, and I found that, and then so you go through that process, and it was months. It was a long time. I think it was 5 months before we actually got it all cast, and that was very challenging. I will say these days talk to me after in the next couple of months, because I feel like I'm going through it right now. But I'm a lot calmer now these days when I get a script, and I see a part, and I'm like, there's going to be someone out there, which is the best part of it. It's like, who's going to play it, and that is the challenge. That is the job.
I always kind of shudder whenever I see in a script, funny and hot. It's not impossible, but they're not mutually exclusive, but God doesn't usually give with both hands, in my experience. But actually, the truth is the hardest role when working with April Webster and Erica Silverman on the Criminal Minds spinoff, we had a non-speaking co-star that he basically, the character walked up to a newspaper bin, opened it up, and finds a pair of eyeballs and react. And it shocked me that it was the hardest role to get anybody, because we had very strong actors come in, but getting a believable, how would you react when you find a pair of eyeballs sitting on top of your newspaper, scared reaction was the one role that broke me.
It's always the smaller parts I find, which like with the non-speaking, or if you have to cast this non-speaking role because it's the most important thing to the director, and you're like, really, this one line is the most important thing to you out of the 110 pages? It's always, there's always some weird attachment that a director has to something. So I find that those small, highly defined moments, and it is a challenge, and then you do it, and then it gets cut, and you're like, really?
Well, it's like, I feel like if I can give you 10 pages, I'm pretty sure there's at least something you will do very well in those 10 pages. But if I'm giving you 3 seconds and no lines, good luck. I think co-stars are the hardest.
It's the hardest to audition, too. It's just
I bet you guys
physically hard to
probably agree
audition.
with that. Even going in
Going into it.
auditions where you don't say anything could be sometimes a lot harder than even, or one-liners could be really hard.
Sometimes I look at the actor, I'm like, here we go. Just make it, make it up. Pretend you know what you're doing.
This is actually a perfect segue for you, Linda, because the main characters in Winnie and George don't talk to each other.
They don't speak.
They don't. So what was that process? Well, I just want to get her name correctly, the lead actress. So.
Catherine Ross.
Thank you.
Catherine Ross.
Can you talk about, you can
Let's
wrap
hear it
that
for
up.
Catherine Ross.
So first, let's talk about the process of getting her on board, and then that process of how do you make a non-speaking parts in the audition room work, and how did that process work?
Okay, that's quite simple in this manner. For those of you who know me, I've been around a long, long, long time. And I've had a 25 to 30-year relationship with Merritt Blake. And went over a list of a couple of his actresses, Angie Dickinson and a few. And I said, Merritt, can we have Catherine Ross look at this? And he goes, Linda, she's kind of hanging out in Malibu and everything. I said, well, just see. And Catherine Ross called me one Sunday, and we started talking, and she agreed to do it. And she was the director's dream candidate. She's and you see in the movie, she's, at a different stage in her career, and I think she presented herself beautifully. And then as far as no dialogue, Catherine Ross. Catherine Ross, it had dialogue. And the dialogue in a short film, as you know, is always, it's just this and this and this. Not always, but it's just this. She said, let's do it without dialogue. And she did the whistle. I could cry.
And so then talk about casting the children, and Will specifically, how did that kind of process came to be of was it, how was that process basically?
That for me is a different process. As you know, I've done The Secret Garden and Jack and a lot of children over the years. And at one point I said, no kids, no kidding. Because you can't, because it's very difficult to judge a child because you don't have a body of work. And so you're not judging them, but it's very difficult. And so you play with them and talk to them gently, and it's just a way of getting them to communicate. Now, Will was interesting because he was, we still couldn't find the boy, especially after we got Catherine, somebody who would do that work. And then we were shooting the following week, early in the week, and we did a long session on Saturday. And Will really wanted to do it, and there was a problem with his availability, and all of a sudden it just came through for us. So it was very nice.
I'm not going to let you off the hook. What's been your hardest role in your long career? Or maybe one of them, if there's multiple.
One of them, oh no. I can't.
Okay, it's okay if you can.
No, I can. I can do some. I won't go into that one, or that one, or that one, or that other one that you might know of, but I won't go into any of those. The hardest one I'd like to go through most recently was when the director got some ideas, and the director and producer decided to take all of their casting ideas off of BuzzFeed for a short film. So every morning I would get the latest BuzzFeed. So finally, it was very hard, and it was very, so finally one day, there was a name that I knew the agent for, and I called him up. So we got the actor from BuzzFeed, but it was hard. It was very hard. Oh, it's been a long career.
Rough day at the office for that day. Sahar has a question. Say hi, Sahar. I have a feeling this is because it's around the holidays, and actors want to say thank you for bringing them in, for calling in the auditions. And we were talking a little bit about backstage. Kind of talk about gifts and what are maybe good gifts and not good gifts, and kind of where's that fine line for you? I loved your story, Mike. With you got to share that one.
Well, actually, today I received. Well, I mean, first of all, I guess when it comes to gifts, is my personal opinion is save your money. Thank you. I've never asked. I mean, again, it is very sweet. But if you are going to send something, definitely think it out or research it a little more. I received today. Well, our mail guy walked in and held an envelope up like this that was dripping, and he goes, "I don't know. They sent you some cologne or something." And so I walked in the restroom and I opened it up, and somebody had sent in a manila envelope, a little bottle of vodka, which clearly had broken before getting there. And also, I don't drink, so I was like, okay, well, I can't even re-gift it because it's now. So hopefully, if I smell like,
I was wondering.
yeah, right. So yeah, I always say, research maybe a little more.
I always appreciate. I mean, a gift is a nice thing. A card is just as nice. A thank you for being cast is always very sweet and completely appreciated. I think a gift is not necessary, and because it's my job to cast. So I'm very happy. My relationship with actors is professional, and a letter is fine, and it's actually more sincere and more real, and it's sweeter, and actually that's how I develop personal relationships with some of the actors, is just continuing from that written letter. I did get cupcakes today from a management company that I have no idea which company it was, and which defeats the purpose of the cupcakes, because the sticker was on there and all I did was go, because I was having a sugar depletion.
Although if we book you in, I think like a $30 million role or something,
Well, then, yes. I mean, but yeah.
A car.
Or any car. Casting is a team effort, I think, so it's very hard to distinguish like who may have been the person responsible, but I think a letter in general is good.
I would
Flowers, wine, if you don't drink. I mean, I drink, so wine, vodka is fine.
Definitely, the cards mean a lot. They really do, especially if they're personal. And but we get all kinds of gifts. And again, I agree with everyone that said it. You don't have to. We really appreciate the cards and the writing more. And vodka's never bad, though.
I mean, honestly, the written word will go further. I've saved every heartfelt card I've ever gotten. Sometimes when it gets a really rough day and I'm like, that's it, I'm moving to Alaska to like raise huskies. Those are the cards that's like, oh, somebody actually does remember me and appreciates, what we actually did.
Same here. I keep those. There's the same thing. If it's a tough day, we're all in this together. Like we go through what you guys go through too. Directors go through it. So sometimes when you read something like that one job maybe changed someone's summer or career, or how could that not make you feel good? So that means more than the gifts, I think. Even the postcards.
I
even
agree, because you remember them long after,
Yeah.
and they're very tangible, and they're really wonderful because they come from the heart, and you can't beat that. And the gifts are fine. I like candy, but it's
Starbucks.
But it really is when an actor really, when you do change an actor's life and get him Starbucks.
And talk about let's talk, transition because you all are very accessible, whether through mail or you have your email addresses out there and everything. For an unrepresented actor that they might see a role that is appropriate for, is it appropriate for you for them to submit if it's an appropriate role and everything, or are you like, no, let's just have it through the representation? What's your kind of what do you like to be your process with all that?
I guess everybody's staring at me. Our process is we see everybody, non-union, union. It's very open because the talent is all out there. And the best thing about doing shorts is so many times you're able to see and meet so many actors that on other projects you couldn't meet.
Because they maybe don't have representation.
They might not have representation, or they might just be overlooked by someone else in the agency. And actually, we go directly. The actors come directly to us a lot of the time. And the agents say, hey, I don't want to deal with you. You don't have money. So what else is new? But the actors will email or send a picture.
That's actually a really good point, especially with shorts. A lot of times we won't get agents to submit, so we'll put it on Actors Access, or you guys see it when we open up projects. And then you'd never know who you're going to find. A lot of people don't have representation, and they maybe just moved here. But we don't discriminate agent. A lot of times the agents are coming down on me because we're not getting enough times through you, and I'm not even looking at whose logo is on. I'm just going by the. So I think don't be discouraged if you don't have representation.
Definitely, I've always been such a huge proponent of the short films, of the web series, the student films, etc. I think they are such a great way to break in the industry or to expand your breadth of work. Not just because we're in casting, but I honestly do feel a good sign of a professional project is that they've hired a real casting director. And by doing your research, when you see the breakdowns out there, because when they've hired a casting director, it is our reputations that are on the line. And we've researched the director, the producers. I make sure every time I meet on a film that, and I don't mean this condescendingly, but I always ask them, I'm like, you can take care of my kids? Meaning when I send my actors to set, is it going to be professional? Is it going to be a positive work environment? Are they going to be taken care of? Because it's very important, both how the process of making the project goes through when it's cut, edited, and put out there, that everyone's going to be taken care of. But by going out for these projects, and at least the ones that I've done in the past, I'm very, very grateful for any professional actor that is willing to come out for it. And I'll sometimes think a lot more outside of the box than I can do on studio or network projects. That somebody I only know in a comedy standpoint, comes in, they're like, no, really, I can be this serial killer. Let me show you my dark side. Great, come on in. Or vice versa. And I think that can be a great way, because I know the number one thing that I say pretty much on a daily basis is, okay, great, can you show me tape? And by doing these projects like this, and I think what you saw from the trailers, these are all professionally done and amazing demo reel footage. So even if you're not getting paid, I think you get the real payoff.
Yeah. And you never know where they could lead. You guys never, you could be working with someone who will be directing, a $30 million feature in 2 weeks, or a pilot that gets picked up for, 5 years. I'm always like that. You just never know. If there's good people attached, something will come out of it. Even at the very least, footage and experience for you guys.
Well, I did a student film with USC, a graduate student film, and that film ended up doing very well at a lot of the film festivals. The director himself ended up getting signed by WME, given his first feature that I think he shot up in Toronto earlier this year, and really launched that pad. And everybody that came in, he still emails me, oh, who was so-and-so? I know we didn't cast them, but remember they read, there was the one guy that we really liked, kind of the, and we're like, great, yeah.
To your point, I think I'm very accessible, and there's like good parts of it and bad parts of it. The good part of it is that you don't want to miss out on who might be available or out there. There may be that kid that doesn't have representation, and you want that email. The bad part of it is sometimes it's creepy, and if I put a breakdown out on Actors Access, that is the opportunity for the actor to submit. I actually don't need another email from the actor saying I submitted on Actors Access, because that annoys me like the crap out of me. So because I feel like we sit through every submission. I mean, every casting director does. I mean, we really do look through every submission. Yeah. So to get a multiple submission, even pitches from agents can be sometimes feel like harassment, because you don't have any time in the day to actually do the thing that you're supposed to do, which is figure out who's supposed to be in the film. When you're when you put a breakdown out and literally within 10 minutes you're getting calls, have you cast so and so yet? And you're like, really? I always say, give me a week. I'm also on Twitter, and I use that as more of this is reaching out for open calls, and I'm always amazed. I have an open call out right now, and I'm always amazed how people don't follow instructions. And I'm giving this opportunity to put yourself on tape, because I'm casting a film right now that's shooting in Wisconsin, so I'm reaching out to the Chicago, Milwaukee region, and I can't believe how, without thought some of these actors are, and it's really upsetting because I'm sure they're good. It's just that they're not following through. They're not paying attention to it, and it's the opportunity's there. It's there. I'm gonna watch it. If you put yourself on tape and upload it, I'm watching it. I promise.
Let's talk a little bit about self-tape submissions a little bit. How are your guys' experience with those? Are they improving as actors are doing them more? Is there still blaring issues that actors need to fix? Go for it.
I think it is improving. One of my favorite self-tapes, she's an actress that I know, so I can say her name, Judy Ciccone, she loved a role in a film I was casting that was shooting in Canada, and she did a music video. I haven't even told her this, so if she's watching it, she's gonna email me. But she did the most beautiful audition sort of music video thing that I'd ever seen. It could have gone really badly, but it was so heartfelt, I'm the character, this is what I'm feeling. She just interpreted the character in a way, and it was a whole new way to present yourself. So I think the self-tape opportunity is, if you're really creative, it can be a great venue for you. However, if you shoot the self-tape like you think the director is gonna shoot the scene, no bueno, because you're interpreting, because if I have to show that to the director, they're gonna be like, it's almost a personal affront to how they, they're the director. We really just want to see your acting. We don't really want to see your interpretation of how the film should turn out. So, and I've been getting a lot of those kind of submissions lately, which is interesting. My other sort of pet peeve about self-tapes is there is a way to upload to, I use EcoCast, so I ask for, I'll send out an EcoCast invitation, and I'll ask the artist to upload directly to that. I've fought this fight, and I've actually given up at this point, but it's really a pain in the butt when it's a Dropbox or it's a download this. If you could imagine getting 100 emails, please download my audition, you want to kill yourself. It is literally painful. So, and we do download them all. It would just be nice if everybody kind of had a direct link to that piece instead of forcing us to download, because I don't know about your computer equipment, but mine can't handle it, So I'm not that savvy. I mean, I have enough memory in my computer, but not that much memory. So.
Yeah, if you're gonna be doing it, I'd say, keep in mind, if your 80-year-old grandmother can figure it out, we'll probably be fine. No promises, but probably we'll be fine with it. I always say, do the best that you can. There are some times that it's rushed. I've had self-tapes given to me. One actor was actually on safari. He was in the middle of some rainforest jungle, but his agent said, if you want this role, we need this in a day. So he was literally there in the middle of the rainforest with his iPhone, and did it and made do. I don't generally recommend that. When you have the time, invest in a decent camera, know how to do lighting, know how to shoot it yourself, get somebody to shoot it for you, get somebody to read opposite you. I hate the computer voice guy. I think that's the worst scene partner ever.
But why do you hate the computer voice?
Again,
It's so much fun to listen to.
Especially when that voice gets the job.
yeah. I know, who is that? That was great.
The worst.
Especially when they go interior. New York taxi cab.
And again,
Hi,
sometimes
Jonah.
you have to MacGyver and do what you can for the best. But, the better the tape, the less hurdles your performance has to go over, when it comes down to that. The final last thing, for me at least, is know when to stop. I'll see a lot of self-tapes that I call over-perfected, where you're so worried about one little line flub or mispronunciation or weird look or hair out of place or whatever, that I can tell you've recorded it 28 times. And, you finally get the perfect take. Unfortunately, the perfect tape is now completely antiseptic.
That's
Totally
a really
agree.
good point. So, do you want to
Totally agree. No, you follow.
Because it's still an audition. It still has to be spontaneous. It's not a finished piece, like what Matt and Mike were saying about that. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple as far as the craft, but professional lighting, camera, have someone read with you. That way you want it to look as best as it can. But if you flub a line, even just also when you guys just come into a room and flub a line, take that pressure off yourselves. So you could
It's
leave
so
that
exciting.
take. Yeah.
Sorry. Go.
Oh, no, you could leave the take with the flub line. We'll be able to see beyond that.
I think it's so exciting for actors now versus 10 years ago. You really have a chance in a way that is so, people are getting cast out of pilots with self-tapes. So it's like you really have a chance to get a job. It is not to be taken lightly. It is getting watched. And it's because our time we have less time. We have, the budgets have, crunched what we need to do in a smaller amount of time. But and they don't hire, the budgets don't allow us to, in an independent film, they don't allow us to hire a casting director in New York, Toronto, London. We're doing it from our desks now, and so we are casting worldwide. Like, you are competing with, if we can fly in somebody, you're competing with people from around the world.
Which means you guys could send it on the other side of the world too. That goes, so I think it's
Goes
really
both
opened
ways.
up everything.
Well, and sometimes getting into a room that you may not be able to. Again, I think sometimes casting gets vilified. I've seen actors post on Twitter or Facebook like, sorry, casting, I can't do a tape in one day, and okay, good for you. The person who got the job did. And again, it's not because we're sitting here and being evil and being like, I'm going to, I can't think of it even.
Yeah, or if there's like a deadline on another thing is, like, if there's a deadline on an actual offer that's out, we get vilified a little bit as well sometimes. If we're trying to get the film cast and we're not getting a response, it's like, I call it the battered wife syndrome. And it's like you're just like constantly like, have they read it? We put a deadline on it. It's now a week later, and they're like, they're getting to it, and you're like, really? So we move on, and then we get yelled at for moving on, and. I don't know what that has to do with anything, really. I'm just venting.
We'll hug it out at the end. It'll be okay.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit, mentioned reels. Lacey, do we have Lacey? You want to raise your hand? Say hi, Lacey. Her question is, how important is it to have a reel? Do you call actors in without reels?
I can answer that one.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to have a reel. Very important. And I always have this thing, if you don't have a reel and we're looking at your picture, it's harder to take that risk to bring that person. A lot of the shorts on a timeline, we're bringing people in directly to the director and producer. And without backup information, we don't have time for all the pre-reads. So without backup information, it's very difficult. A good reel, just a couple of, a minute or 3 minutes maximum, and it will take you very, very far.
There's no excuse not to have a demo reel, and usually I try to be nice about everything, but that's one thing I give no slack on. I don't care if you have never booked a job in your life. How can you not have access at this day and age to at least somebody with some kind of recording equipment? to put it out there. I mean, yes, for each professional clip, episode of Grey's Anatomy or, standing next to Brad Pitt is going to look great on a reel, but really when it comes down to it, I'm looking for your performances. So whether it's in a short film, a web series, something you've self-produced, as long as you've got a strong performance on it, great, and I really do want to see the diversity of it. I believe every actor should have drama clips, should have comedy clips, and should have whatever your type is, any roles that you really feel you can play, you should have examples of it on your reel.
Do you guys say they self-taped with a previous audition and it matches your character? Are you open to seeing that, or does it have to be a polished kind of finished product?
No, I get auditions from. Sometimes agents will send auditions from other movies, or like just so that you can see the actor. I think a reel is important because it does help narrow it all down. But I don't know. I like some. If I go to theater and I see someone who's in a show and then who's fantastic who doesn't have a reel, I'm going to bring them in.
Great. Did you, Mike? Go ahead, Mike.
I think that's a good point too. If we could, the same thing. If someone doesn't have a reel and I could see them in a showcase, but I think it's really important because it's the only way. Even if I'll sometimes watch it just for 15 seconds, just to hear you, just to see you, the sound of your voice. You could pick up, and we start to, become so sensitive. It becomes intuitive so quick for us. So, and even if it's a commercial that I'm doing, I would rather see your theatrical reel than a commercial reel. That's just me, because we do both, and I don't really need to see you hold up a can and smile or. But it is really important that you guys have something, and there's so many resources to go out and get it done. Short films, student films. So yeah, I think it's really important. And that goes back to your question.
And I also want to mention, Linda, the project you worked on was a USC project, right? They were.
Yes, the one I did?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
definitely.
What are your guys' experience? Do you feel the students are coming directly to you guys? Or are they like one student recommending you guys? What are you kind of seeing in the landscape of the student film world out there? Is it always moving forward? Is it improving so much? Yeah?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, we get calls right from the schools now, USC, AFI. They, like you were saying earlier, they want to have a professional cast their piece, so they could be dealing with other things.
And it's their senior thesis project. They're like, this is our calling card, so we want a professional to help us with this. That's great. Laura, I don't know, Chmisky? I think I'm going to butcher your last name. Chernicky. We'll just call you Laura. How does that sound? I'm going to switch Laura's question up a little bit because I talk about confidence of an actor in the audition room. How palpable is that? How important is that? Kind of talk about your experience with actors coming in with just the confidence that they're going to know that they're going to rock it.
I think it's actually everything. Putting you feeling confident makes everybody else feel confident. There's so many distractions that can be happening, like noises from the street and somebody, one of the producers on their thing, on their cell phone, which happens all the time now, so you just have to deal with it. I tried to stop it. I tried to have the campaign, no phones in the room, but I seem to have failed, so someone will be doing this. And you just have to ignore it, and you just have to connect with the reader, if it's me or if it's the casting director or whoever the reader is, and just do your thing and not get frustrated by it. And just enjoy just enjoy it. And hopefully you're coming in because if you're desperate for a job, that is not a good thing on any level. You should be coming in because you've read the script and you are confident that this part is right for you. And sometimes you don't get, 2 times to do it just because you don't. So, and sometimes that's a good thing. Most of the time that's a good, in a way, it's like if I tell you, that was great, thank you so much, I actually do mean it. I will, we will change it up if we need to, but we just want to see that you've rehearsed it, with your friend or with your coach or whatever you've done, you've rehearsed it, you've taken the time to actually know it. And I feel like the actors who get the parts are the ones who just really love the material, and hopefully they do, and hopefully I work on material that actors love, so there's that too. But I think I do.
What? This is from Michael, from Kayla. There's Kayla here. Hey, Kayla. She goes, "What types of jobs do you prefer?" And I'm gonna switch it up to you. What's web series, commercials, and I want this for everyone too. Just what makes each one kind of unique? Like, cause you've worked on The Artist. You've worked on so many different things. What makes you what did all those projects do for you as a person? It's kind of a woo-woo question, but
It's a tough question. Because when you're working on something, you don't know what's going to happen with it a lot of the time and how well it's going to do. But I love to switch it up. I feel very blessed. I could go from a commercial to a film to. I was telling these guys back there. My next, I'd love to venture into television, work on scripted TV, but not to give up what I'm doing now. I just want to keep doing it. I don't remember the question.
well, sorry. Are those each of those fulfill something different in you, or does it?
Oh, definitely. It's like what I was saying earlier. Like, the commercials are wonderful, and I work with some amazing directors. But just like when you guys go on auditions for those, a lot of the time when you're doing a film, it's it's just more creative and artistic, and you're watching scenes and things are coming to life, and it has a lot more to do with the art form than marketing or corporate America, which is not a bad thing because they're funding those films a lot of the time. So if the ideal situation, like keep the commercials going, do a couple of films a year, and then to get on a pilot that goes for 15 years. There's my dream career.
I would just like my directors to keep directing. So, I'm very fortunate that the people I'm working with right now or in the past have been, some have become friends, true friends, and then there's just people I really love to talk to on, about the process, and seeing the final version of it is what makes me fulfilled as a casting director. It's like watching and going, I had something to do with that, and just being part of that team. I mean, that's why I do it. I like that job. I like that part of the job.
I think this is a great place to tell us a little bit, Mike, about what you're head of casting at TNT and TBS. What is that? It's new-ish in the sense you've been doing it for a little while, but what's that world like for you?
Well, manager of casting. My boss will be mad at you if.
Sorry, boss. I'm trying to get you a promotion already.
Thank you. No, I did start over at TNT and TBS as the manager of casting last January, and it's a completely different beast. I feel very, very blessed and very lucky, and not just because they pay my bills, but I love both networks. I love being able to. One of my networks does all drama, the other network does all comedy. So I get to play in both worlds, and just the diversity of the projects and where both of the networks are going, the different casting directors, the different types of projects we work on is very exciting. The entire corporate atmosphere, at least with my corporation, has been amazing, and working under Lisa Freiberger, who's just been a titan of the industry. Is great watching her work with everything, and it's fascinating. I have to say, I'm still always surprised anything has ever made it onto air or onto the screen, period. And I think we've all had those moments on our projects when, it just feels like it's never going to happen. But it always does, and, it's a blessing.
We encourage our audience members to create their own work, short films, web series, all those kind of things. So we'll start with Linda, but we want to hear from everyone. What do you need from a director and producer to make your job the best it can be? What do you need from them?
What do I need from them to make it the best? I've been fortunate enough to work with incredible directors who have always been very clear about what they want. And that's the thing that's most important to me. I can't be a mind reader, so that if I'm really in tune with my director, which is what I do on my auditions, when I go to an audition to cast a movie, I really want them to connect with me, but I really want to be able to connect with them. I can't do anything for them if I can't understand them, and if they're giving me misdirection in I like to be very clear and work with somebody rather than for somebody.
I think the most important, because I do a lot of independent features, so I would say patience. is the most important thing that a director or producer can have, because you have, and trust in the process, and that and that the casting director has experience and knows what they're doing or what I'm doing, and that clarity is really super important, because if there's no clarity from the director, then the whole project gets a little fuzzy. So, and just have fun and try and really enjoy it, and not get so stressed out about it.
This, I would have to agree with both. The communication, you have to connect to the director's vision, or you're never going to be able to. And a lot of times it's, you guys don't know all the different changes or the addendums that we put out, because the role will change throughout the process so many times, and we just can't put out an addendum. At that point, we usually have thousands of submissions because we've covered something that we could, but it's being so clear on what, how they're trying to interpret the script. That's more from the director, the producers, just, again, patience and scheduling, and if there's a budget, and just making sure we don't go over budget, and deadlines. The producers more, especially the line producers, more in line with that, and then the director is usually the one that's the creative conversation.
I think the most important part for anyone, and this is whether it's the director, the producer, the writer, the actor, craft services, whoever, is collaboration. That's what I strive to work most with, is that, we're in here and everybody has something to offer. I know I try to look at that with actors as opposed to, I'm casting, you're just an actor. That's not how I want my room to be. I want to be like, okay, what are you offering? What are you bringing to the project? How can we make this work together? And I want the same thing when I'm working with a director or producer, is okay, what do you have in mind? What are you coming in with? Okay, great, let me bring that to you. One of the first casting directors I ever worked with gave me this great idea that she said, basically casting is like a game of improv, where you only say yes and. You never say no. Unfortunately, we don't plan those rules. There are plenty of people that say no, and that's okay. But again, I think if that spirit of collaboration would make a very nice industry to work in.
Communication.
I'm going to start with Linda because she's the youngest of in the panel.
Prettiest.
Exactly. How would you describe? How did you learn your craft of? Because we talked about the craft of casting. How did you learn from certain people? How did you learn your craft of casting?
For casting, I started very young. I directed in my church and started casting my own things. And then, my father was a very big movie buff, and we would go to the movies, and I would watch the actors, like from The Sting, from all the different movies, and I would make sure that I knew which casting director had done them. And it became my trick of watching something and guessing and writing it down. And then that was the Marion Doherty, Lynn Stallmaster. And I studied. And then I had the opportunity, I'll make this as brief as possible, to work with Jennifer Schull, who had been the head of talent at Columbia. And then that was with Francis Coppola, and we had a casting room where maybe 7 of us, April Webster, Jane Jenkins, Janet Hershenson, Nancy Foy, all sat around a table and put our ideas in for a movie. Those were the good old days. Those don't come around very often, but that's how I got started.
How about you guys? How did you learn your craft?
No, I was an actor, and I was in drama school, and I watched better actors. So I was like, I'm not going to be doing this. But I think, and just growing up loving film and watching a lot of television to my parents' chagrin, and just, I think it is part of it is instinctual. I think you just have to have there's a taste level that's involved. You just have to kind of know, and you can't really teach that that part of what we do.
I started, like you guys, was an actor, was bartending, and the casting director came up to my bar and asked me to go intern with her. just started liking the process. Then I was freelancing for probably about 20 different casting directors in town, and I thought 10 of them were out of their minds, and I thought 10 of them were amazing. And then I went to partner with someone else, and from there I just opened my own company. Probably who I learned the most through would be Heidi Levitt. Do you all know Heidi Levitt? She, that would probably be for the theatrical side. Commercially would probably be, there's so many commercially, but Chris Nicolau, who was with a company called Skirts, who I was partners with for years. I learned so much from both of them. And it's not the kind of thing, Matt and I are on the board, and we're talking about, there's no really program to be a casting director. There's no schools that teach you. You can't, but we're trying to change that in the CSA. And I'm grateful, though, the way the path, the way it went and led me, but it was just really learning on the job, interning and assisting people, and and then figuring out, I don't like the way this person works, or and I think also being a former actor, you have that empathy with actors, and knowing what you guys are going through, every second of your day, driving, Santa Monica, and then 2 o'clock you're in the valley, and I don't know how you guys do it. So,
and I also, I mean, we don't really talk about this a lot, but I also like the business side of it. I mean, I do like the interaction with the agents and the managers, and I like the creativity that you are forming partnerships with those people over time. And it's been a lot of years that I've been doing it now, so there's people that I trust that have ideas, not just in that community, and people I can turn to. I mean, I like that part of sitting down at my desk and just seeing what the day is going to bring, and kind of.
And I think that's how people always say, who are your favorite agents? Who do you? It's the ones you have the relationship with, and it's based on trust. It doesn't matter how big or small, but if they're pitching someone and they're right, and it becomes a steady, it's a consistent thing with them, then I'm going to call that agent, probably more than a lot of other people. It's just it's all relationship, and it's history, and it's collaboration, and then the same people start to request you, and then we start to request the same actors, and it just all happens like that, I think.
Mike, you worked under some great shows and great people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I just feel like the luckiest, most blessed person on the planet. I moved out here, actually I just had my 10-year anniversary. Moved out here from Colorado, and I don't recommend it, but I knew no one, had no job. I lived at the Ramada in Santa Monica Boulevard, when I first lived out here, and kind of just, obviously worked hard, but, got very lucky. I mean, I started off in reality television, and, got to do a little, help out with some casting for one of those programs, and then got a production assistant job on Brothers and Sisters, and really got to kind of see what television was like. I got lucky that I saw on the UTA job list a posting for a casting assistant with Dava Waite, who for some reason granted me the position, and got incredibly lucky training with a casting director like her. If you've been in with her before, she loves her job. She has a sense of humor. She has fun, and she knows that we're lucky to be doing what we're doing. And then from there, getting to work with, April Webster, David Rappaport, Mark Hirschfeld, Risa Brayman Garcia, Megan Brandman, everybody that I've worked with, and forgive me for whoever I forgot, being very blessed, because each casting director I've been able to work with or meet or talk to, has a different process and a different idea. And, those of us who I think do have a true love for it, I don't look at it so much as work as much as I do play, and I love being able to turn to an actor and okay, great, let's play, and see where we can go with that.
Yeah, I have to say, it's a great job because you don't clock watch. I don't know, do you clock watch? Don't have time to clock watch. I mean, it's great.
For
And-
lunch, I mean.
Right.
You get lunch?
But it's
I like my
it's
food.
a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And the one thing I would say about actors, too, is that it is instinct, as you said. And so you have to walk in that door as an individual, as the individual of you, the way you see the role. You can't second guess. Just don't try to second guess what we're thinking. We're not thinking anything. We're looking at you.
That's a really good point. Yeah, please don't second. Please, I see that a lot. We could see it, in your expressions. Don't just stay focused on, like Matt said, people are on phones or computers and tune them all out. You know, that's your time to deliver, whether it be 30 seconds or 5 minutes. The hell with everybody else in that room, except whether it be me or the direct, whoever's reading with you. Because, yeah, I think that's important.
I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into the audition that you need to do before you come into the room. But by the time you walk into the door and you're standing there, you're in place, everything else is irrelevant. You know, I've always said to actors, my favorite piece of advice is just take a big, deep breath and let it go.
I have one more point there, if that's okay. The important thing to remember is you were invited. That's really important. You didn't just walk in or you were invited to come in. So what do you do with an invitation? You answer it.
We already like you. We already chose you. You're there. You know, you don't need to impress us. You know, show us what it works. And I've always thought, you know, with, you know, my perspective anyway is, you know, when casting a role, it's not about the actors that didn't get it. You know, there's, you know, nothing you did wrong. You know, when getting asked for feedback, you know, short of you not reading the lines, not studying the lines, being drunk, being late, you know, unless you really did something wrong, more often than not, I don't necessarily have specific feedback as to why you didn't get the role. You know, and the person that did, it's just because they walked in and were like, oh, there's the character. You know, but as long as you come in and you did a solid, strong performance, you brought the best that you can bring, you know, that's what we remember, and that's what we go back to for the next time.
Tracy has a question, and I'm gonna say hi, Tracy. She's talking about locals. How important is local casting for you these days? I know Matt specifically, you tap into a lot. Do you guys deal a lot with local casting? How is it important for you to know who's local and what markets, etc.?
Well, when things are shooting not in Los Angeles, which a lot of films are, it's very important. So I think it's the smaller the budget, the harder it is to fly the actor out there who can say they are local. So that's always a challenge. But I don't really understand.
Do you think with films, if there can be local and they can fly themselves out, like is that sticky?
I don't really like that because you know the schedules change so much, and the whole point of asking for a local hire is for flexibility. You know, so you know, then again, if someone's really fantastic, we'll make it work. I just cast a film that shot in Las Vegas, and pretty much everybody, even you know, a lot of people were flown in who were day players. So, yeah. But that was the choice of the production.
Are you guys obviously commercially LA local? You guys are all mainly doing LA local work and everything, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of times with commercials, they'll have someone in New York doing it, or or they'll have us hire someone in New York or look out for one of our. But yeah, it's mostly local, or that's where the self-tape comes in. But like Matt said, the local hire thing gets sticky with lower budgets.
I mean,
especially with schedules changing.
I find that I'm casting locally more often from my desk. So I'm doing a lot of self-taping and hiring from that. So it's working, you know, because, you know, it's one line. You know, would you like some cigarettes? Would you like some cigarettes? Would you like some cigarettes? You know, I mean, it's like, I don't really know how hard that is, you know? You know, clearly, again, not an actor. So, you know, but... So you know when it's those kind of roles, I mean, you know, people can put themselves on tape, and it can make the production's life a lot easier by not having to hire a casting director locally to just figure that out. And especially in the Chicago market, I know those agents really well, so I can literally just call them up and say to you, which 5 people are the best 5 people for this role. I don't have to go very deep anymore.
A question from Anonymous here. They didn't leave their name. You guys talked a lot about how your jobs are similar to actors in a lot of sense of the freelance and auditioning for your job. But do you guys feel as casting directors that sometimes you get typecast in certain things or in certain genres, or are you?
Well, actually, that was something I was warned about. I remember when talking, when I was first taking on some projects, and when this film came up, a fellow casting director actually advised me against from doing it, saying, you know, oh, well, you don't want to get typecast in doing the gay films, you know, which clearly I didn't listen to. I think there is some fear of that. I mean, because, yes, it's getting typecast, but it's also you get hired based on your experience. You've done comedy, you're probably going to get hired to do comedy. When somebody wants to do drama, they're probably going to hire a drama casting director. I think in the same standpoint that, we have to diversify our demo reels as much as possible. And sometimes that's doing smaller projects, free projects to show, no, really, we can do drama and taking on the different jobs in whichever we can.
I just interviewed for a job, and the feedback I got was, "Oh, he's the horror guy," and I was like, "I am." I was like, "I did 3 horror films," or things in my head that aren't as important, like films that didn't do very well or shouldn't have been weren't hit. People do look. The thing is that people do look at just like actors, but they do look at our body of work. So they have to judge you. They have to judge you. They have to put a label on you, just like we have to put a label on you. They put a label on us. It's easier for them to categorize, and I think that part of getting out of that is by being really passionate about the piece that you want to work on, and just like the actor can be really passionate about the piece that they're auditioning for, and being really prepared. That's how you can break out of that cycle. So, I mean, I don't think I'm the horror guy.
Are you sure it was 2 syllables?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's the same.
Although I'd be happy to be the horror guy.
Well, you want to be the sci-fi guy. So
I want to be the sci-fi guy.
So you can be. Does the same thing happen in the commercial world? Is it looser?
For a while, we seem to have fallen in a pharmaceutical world. That was just happening.
Pharmaceutical guy.
But it changes.
Do you get samples?
We'll go. Some of them, yeah. No. No. I mean, I could be doing a pharmaceutical one week, and then we could be doing a car or fast food, and then we'll jump on a film. And I've been very lucky that way. Like, I don't think. I mean, if anything, we were typecast as the commercial casting office, so it was much harder to get out of that a little bit. I've been, again, very lucky and working hard, and whether it be a big budget feature that's paying or even some of these shorts that don't. I like what I do, so it seems to be the projects have been luckily where they've done well enough where people say, oh wow, he's done that or that, we could chance him on this now.
And I have to commend you too. You're like being the commercial casting director. You're maybe willing to be an associate on a different project to be able to get your feet wet. Which do you think actors are the same way? We're like, okay, you might not be known for this, so maybe a smaller role just to get your face out there in this genre.
Absolutely, I'm willing to go associate with anyone at any of the networks. So if you know anyone, hiring.
Well, I mean, I did the same version of that. I partnered with Joanna Colbert this year on a film. I partnered with Susan Shopmaker on 2 films this year. So there's other ways for casting directors to sort of branch out and get, and expand their. You don't have to be a partner with somebody for life. You can be a partner for that project. You can be, there's ways to.
Heidi and I will still do that a lot, and Heidi's Levitt's office has been doing more commercials, so it's been nice that I've been able to help them out with that whole world too. But a lot of times we'll go, or someone will partner with a regional casting director. We do need casting outside of LA. There's so many different ways to break the mold of being typecast, I think.
Couple more questions. We're getting wrapped up here. I just want to get everyone. I think this is a great question from Anthony Bradford. Is Anthony where are you at? Hey, Anthony. Kind of on the flip side of an earlier question, what project do you feel was maybe a milestone, or you learned or took the next level with a project that you kind of really learned on that maybe took you to the next level in whatever way?
Well, it definitely would have to be The Artist for me. I was working on a movie with Heidi right before that called I Melt With You, because Mark Pellington, who directed that movie, is one of my main commercial directors. He knew I wanted to do more features. He said, to Heidi, can Michael cast the kids in the movie? So I never even met her. We had to cast Rob Lowe's son and Jeremy Piven's daughters, and then I went to the set, and that's when I met her, and she said, she goes, I liked working with you, and I just got this little black and white movie. I don't know what's going to happen with it. But she said there's no dialogue, and a lot of times commercials have no dialogue. I think you'd be perfect for it. And that just exploded. And then she was telling me about, you have to join the CSA now. I'm like, wow, how do I do that? And, so that really kind of really got me into the, now I'm on the board with Matt. I'm very honored, you guys, because it's only in the last 4 or 5 years that the whole theatrical world has really opened up. So that would have to be a milestone, I think.
I'm going to sound like Pollyanna here for a second, and just, I mean, honestly, like, every show I've been able to work on has been amazing and has been challenging and has been a blast. But as far as the ones that really spoke to me is the short films, for sure. And, not just because I'm sitting here tonight because of it, but I mean, honestly, this project, Abed and Khurshid, every time I still remember the first time I read the script, I cried. Every time I've seen a cut of it, I cried. I was watching the little trailer before coming up here. I got choked up again. And, as anyone who's ever dated me will tell you, I don't cry. Really? So the fact of finding this kind of piece of material that really did translate through everything and being able to explore so many different aspects of, sex and gender and culture and, everything, all the different subjects that get hit on in that film. And kind of having to really fight tooth and nail. A lot of the conversations with agents and with actors and, with various people to, really literally beg and plead, to get it made. Seeing it all get done has been probably one of the most worthwhile.
I just cast a film with Susan Shopmaker called Chronic with Michelle Franco, who's the director, and Tim Roth is the lead, and it's about a hospice care worker, and Michelle's directing style was beautiful and amazing, and I'm so excited for it to come out. And I just sit there, like, I try and find out what's happening. He had a very specific. He did a film called Después de Lucia, After Lucia, which won Cannes, in a certain regard. My French is terrible. 2 years ago, and so it was a great opportunity to work with this amazing director who wrote this beautiful piece, and he was so specific about what he wanted in the room and the way the actor had to act for him, and so it was about prepping the actors beforehand and we have very beautiful actors coming in who clearly didn't need my help in telling them how to audition or in general, but they kind of did in this instance so that it didn't throw them off. In order for them to, it wasn't manipulating the audition, it was crafting the audition so that the director could see that element of what he's looking for from that actor, so that there was confidence to be on set. And so it was very stylistic and a beautiful script, and I cannot wait for it to come out. So that changed me and it changed my process as a casting director.
Linda?
Okay. I have a few that I really have loved, which would be, they're strange. The Rainmaker, Heaven's Prisoners, which is a while back. And they're all a while back. The furthest back I go is Frances, which is the Frances Farmer story. And with all those films, we painted. We painted with people, and we did everything. Everything was supervised from the cast to every extra in the film. Interviewed, seen. We had an extras casting director who then I would go in and work with. Every single person in the movie was picked.
It doesn't happen very much
Anymore.
Yeah,
I know.
It's really sad.
I know. That's why I'm doing shorts. It can happen in shorts.
I actually think that's a great place to end, because I think you guys why I want to end here is because your passion is evident, and you guys just shared from your heart why you love what you do, and you can tell by the work, you can tell from hearing you guys, and I just want to thank you so much for being here and sharing that passion with us. Let's give them a hand. Yeah.